So then our next film is a little movie called The Goonies, which was directed by Richard Donner, written by Spielberg and Chris Columbus, starring a bunch of child actors: Sean Astin, Josh Brolin, Jeff Cohen, Corey Feldman, Carrie Green, Martha Plimpton, Jonathan Kikwan, and John, not a teen actor at the time, John Matsuzak. Am I saying his last name right? He was Sloth. But anyway, talk about this film. This was a big.
This is one of my favorite movies ever.
So, fun fact,
I like this so much better than any other movie that I can think of that doesn't have Star Wars in front of it.
I have a sort of a weird tradition that I've had pretty much my whole life of if it's one of those days where it's just super gray and rainy all day.
Portland weather.
I call those Goonies days, and I will watch the film.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And I did that. It doesn't rain in San Francisco here anymore, but it did once for like one day back in December when we were supposed to have the superstorm of the century. Turned out it just rained a little all day. But so I watched Goonies just a few months ago, and I don't know, I came to try and remember when exactly did this come out, and turns out the Goonies came out 1 month after Back to the Future.
Yeah.
2 generational classics within 30 days of each
Both
other.
produced by Spielberg.
Both
also.
with Spielberg's
Yeah.
fingerprints on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I always liked. When I grew up near like a forest or the cave, and like I could go exploring, and it was like a big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
And and there's treasure. There's a rumor of treasure in this creek I grew up next to, that like, and everybody in town knew this is in Iowa City, and so this film like was what my life was about. It's about these kids going to find freaking treasure like on their own, but with a treasure map. I just thought that was so cool. And then my other big interest at the time, I love mini golf. And like, this is a freaking movie about a mini golf course. Like the waterfalls, water slides. It's like everything in it. It strikes those like adventure, like kids summer fun things chords.
That movie is simultaneously, I mean, it's brilliant on its own, but it just also triggers so much nostalgia for me because, you know, we are the last generation that grew up where we could just ride our bikes and just go.
Yeah.
You know, now you can't be out of your parents' sight. You've got to be tethered in some way all the time for safety reasons. And but yeah, you know, you just go off and play with your friends and just be back when the street lights come on.
Yeah.
And well, I think what really lends Goonies that sense of nostalgia is that the kids' performances are so genuine.
Yes.
And it's
How
because
hectic must they have that set been?
it's because Donner let those kids be kids. Like
They
a
just
lot of those
chat.
lines are improv.
They
Like
say the
there's
S
so
word
many
a
times.
lot.
Yeah, they do drop
great.
the S bomb. There's like a lot of crosstalk, which doesn't really happen a lot. And I read things like he didn't show them the pirate ship until the day that they were that they were on set to shoot that. So when you see them like so surprised at the sight of that ship, it's because they hadn't seen it yet.
You're talking about perfect pacing with Back to the Future. This is another film perfectly paced. Every movie now has to be 2.5 or 3 hours long, and everything. A lot of things are bloated. Back in the 80s, it was okay for a movie to be an hour and a half, 2 hours max, and it's just like go, go, go.
Yeah, I hate to disagree, but I feel like pacing is the one thing that the Goonies doesn't do great because I feel like it's perfectly paced right up until the end, and then they just cram all the ending together. Like
That's what kids kind of need.
Like why is that bank lender?
with that.
Why is that bank lender at the beach? Like he obviously sees there's this huge like heartwarming moment, and he's like, "See, you guys are really like bonding here, but I'm here to take your house." Like
I love the
couldn't
pizza
have waited.
order at the end of that movie, and then when they'd have that flub about how scary the octopus was.
Yeah.
You know what? That movie always struck a chord with me too because they were big kids, and you watch movies when you're a kid. The movies you really like have kids a little bit older than you in them,
Right.
And that's just like a thing that's just commonly known. You target audiences for that way, but I remember this being all big, and that's one of those. The movie I think of where it's like when I crossed that threshold and started seeing them as like really little kids, they all look really strange to me now. And like I just remember them seeing Ralph Mouth was like the coolest character in anything at the time, and I just thought he was so cool. And then now I'm like, oh man, that's a little kid acting like a jerk.
Yeah.
So let's
such a jerk.
let's BuzzFeed it up for a second. Which Goonie are you? Who did you most relate to?
Oh man.
Everybody is Sean Astin.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think everybody is Sean Astin.
Maybe Troy.
Yeah, I don't know if I can pick one. I will say though that it did strike me as a special film just because of the way it was sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark, but for kids.
Okay, you're
very,
Dana.
very, very,
Yeah, you're-
absolutely. Yeah, no, I'll take it. I was
Slick
going to say that
shoes.
actually.
$50 bill.
I have asthma, so I was definitely a Mikey.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.